So for me, it's not really a question of when do I feel the most happy. I can tell you a moment when I distinctly felt quite unhappy. And that moment was at university orientation when I was 17. And it was like the summer before university was about to start. And I had kind of just willy nilly applied. I didn't really have any plan. Like, I never even thought about what I was going to do after high school in any formal way. I never really am that kind of person who's thinking that far ahead. I never really even had questions about it asked to me. And then I was at this university orientation, and university orientation, it's just everyone kind of gathers on campus. Everyone is has that a little bit of nervous, excited energy, kind of going about and meeting new people, and the energy has that feeling of like a bit of that excitement, that electric energy in the air, when it's like you haven't settled into the normal routine of life. So everyone's just like at the start of a new chapter, and it has that bit of a buzz in the air. You're like, ooh. And for me, I remember being 17, and I was wearing like my favorite purple sweater, and the campus is beautiful, obviously. Most university campuses are very well manicured. It's landscaped nicely. There's beautiful, like architecturally beautiful buildings, and has a history. And obviously, there's nothing wrong with that aspect. And the weather was very nice. It was a nice summer day, essentially. There was nothing wrong on the surface. Yet inside, as you get divided into groups, and you have like an orientation leader, and they kind of show you around, give you a tour, and they give you an idea of like what you'll be doing and where your classes might be. And you go and sit in different classrooms, and then you'll get like little lectures from different professors and other people affiliated with the university, kind of giving you like your mini orientation for the day, right? And I was getting like shuffled, like following this group or just going along with this group throughout the day, going from building to building and classroom. And I don't know, for me, like, I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but to me, it was just so cringe. Like, I don't know, I just felt so ridiculous. Not just ridiculous, but I was like, oh my God, why, like, first of all, like, it's just a little bit, like, corny. It's a nice way that people talk. It's just, like, a little bit, like, they're trying to put on a performance or a show for you and make you feel excited for something you're not excited about. At least for me, but then I was not excited, so I did not really appreciate that aspect. What I'm trying to say is that I remember distinctly feeling not happy. When I say not happy, it's not just like oh, I'm not happy today or something, or my mood just not feeling, I'm not feeling in the mood or something. It was distinctly, I got this feeling when I was sitting in one of the classrooms during the orientation when I was 17 for the university I had applied to. And I remember sitting there, and I actually felt I had this distinct impression. I'm like, I feel like I'm in jail right now. And it was so odd because obviously I'd gone through high school and all that. And I never had that feeling per se. I just kind of did it. I just went. But then it was so interesting because when I was in that university orientation, I had this very distinct feeling that I didn't have to be there now. I don't have to be there. And this was not really something that I grappled with during like high school or any schooling before that, right? It was just like, oh, okay. I never felt any kind of inherent distress by it, right? But suddenly, this orientation day at the university, it was like a wave of like emptiness and like coldness. And I remember particularly it was like one of those lecture rooms with like the plastic seating, and it kind of like escalates up like a row of stairs, like one of those type of lecture classrooms. And one of the professors was giving like a bit of a introduction and just sharing like what they teach and what your classroom experience might be like to like just like hundreds of students like around my age who had just gathered in that classroom, right? From all the different orientation groups. And, we're all kind of just like out of high school, kind of that vibe. And, uh, you know, probably other people too, but it's just in general, it was just that buzz in the air of like everyone's just kind of new, and that kind of like excited energy. And I just felt so like out of place, not just out of place, but like I was cringing inside. I was like, oh my God, this is not the vibe for me. I did not feel like this was drawing me at all. Like my inner compass was so like not magnetized to the situation. I was so averse to it, okay? And I probably sound very extreme. Like, why am I so not enjoying the situation. But inside, and it's not even like I had any problems prior with school. Like I never necessarily like had any aversion to school, but suddenly in this university campus on this orientation day, I was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm in jail. And I was just like a thought, like, I didn't say anything out loud. I didn't really do anything on the surface, but within, it's like I just felt very dejected almost. Like I just felt like very empty and very cold. And it's almost this idea of like, um, whether you're getting a feeling of warmth inside. And I do feel like I'm a very intuitive person, and I'm very intuitive in the way of how I feel. Like for me, how I feel is like top because of how I tend to get my own idea of whether something's in alignment for me is on how I feel. Like when I'm feeling in alignment, when I'm feeling good, when I'm feeling in the flow, I tend to have this like warmth and like this energy and like this feeling of like a little bit of excitement. Like I tend to be a very optimistic kind of I would say high energy person. Like I tend to have a lot of high energy and I get excited about things. So you would think I would be excited about something like a orientation for university. And it was like the far opposite from that. I was literally feeling dark, cold, empty inside. And that's like the opposite of who I am naturally, right? So this was already a very obvious sign. But at that time I wasn't so clued into my own intuition and my own way of sensing things. I was obviously aware that I was not happy about it. And not just not happy, but almost in this feeling of like a cold state. And it's, I'm like, I would say one of the way like the channels of intuition for me is clairsentience. Clairsentience has to do with your visceral, like a very feeling, almost like from your gut, a gut sensation. And for me, that was definitely activated at that time. At 17, I'm not really even thinking that much in depth about this. I'm just sitting there, like at that time I remember I used to place so much like authority in adults, especially teachers and people who are like in those positions. Like you go to school and you just like sit there and then you just do the things that you're supposed to do. And so for me it was like at that point I was always just like, oh okay, this is the orientation leader and then these people are older than me and this is the teacher and la 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 la. So you kind of just, my mindset at that point in time was very much like, oh, well, these are just the adults. You just listen to what they say and somehow it's like they're a little bit different from you for some reason. And so even though I was holding these feelings within, I didn't really see myself as an authority on my own feelings. I was just kind of like, oh, okay, well, um, kind of just follow around. And I remember even then, I always felt like a little bit apart from the group. Like I wouldn't necessarily just walk in line with the group or in step. I would always kind of be a little bit apart from the crowd. Like I never felt like I enjoyed just being shuffled around or in a tour group or something. Like it wasn't a tour group, but I mean, just in that sense of like, oh, we're all freshmen or whatever. We're all about to embark on a new journey. I don't know, okay? Like I just felt an incredible sense of cringe, okay? That was also just not a good sign. I was just feeling like, oh my goodness, what is this nonsense? And there's nothing wrong with the day because it was like a beautiful day. It was like I think it was a summer day still, and it's a beautiful campus, as most campuses are. And on the surface, there's nothing to complain about. And yet inside, I just felt so off, so unaligned. And and then I remember at the end of the day, once I had gone through that whole orientation, and it's like, yeah, you go through it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're fully aligned with it. So rationally, your mind can think, oh, well, this and this and that, but why am I feeling this way? And why are these feelings coming up where something is just a bit off? I'm not fully present. That's the biggest thing. I felt like my mind was wandering. My mind was like not really there. Even just in body, I was not there. Like I was not necessarily, everyone was like eager to make new friends and like they were so eager for like, oh, I really want to make sure that I absorb as much as I can. That's what happens when you're in alignment. You want to soak everything up. You're like so fully present because your whole being is there, your body, your mind, your spirit. You are 100% there, and that's what it means when you're in alignment. When you're not in alignment, it would very much look like what I was kind of just like standing apart from the group or just like feeling a little bit withdrawn, not really interested to even make friends or talk to anyone really, not even trying to absorb what was happening. In fact, I almost found myself like, like I mentioned, feeling like cringing at it. And Actually, like I had the very distinct thought in that lecture room I was saying at one point during the day where I'm like, I feel like I'm in jail. I feel like I'm stuck right now. I feel like I don't have a certain sense of freedom, or I literally feel like I'm just in prison or something. And that was like the first time I'd ever had that thought. It was very distinct. And I was like, whoa. And I didn't really obviously, but it's funny how I still remember that all those years ago, back in 2005, this was. And I still have that very distinct impression. I can still visualize what I was wearing. I had my hair in a ponytail and my purple sweater, and I'm just 17, and I'm, yeah, I can literally visualize myself. And, but at the end of the day, like at the end of the orientation, I was waiting like by the near the front of the buildings and where there's like a little bit of a pickup area. So I was waiting for my mom to pick me up. And I was standing with this other girl who was kind of in the same orientation group as me. And we're just kind of like doing like lately chattering about like, oh, we have to get ready for the first day of school, why not, what we're looking forward to. I was not very like particularly enthusiastic, and she didn't really seem that to be either. But we were kind of just standing there like shooting the wind, essentially, just chattering. And then I had this very fleeting thought, just without really thinking about anything. Obviously, I had this impression throughout the day that I'm just like, wow, I'm not necessarily excited about this. I just didn't feel particularly happy. And then suddenly this fleeting thought goes through my mind, go travel. And I kid you not, like I never thought about, like this was not even a thought that seemed to come from my logical mind. It was just a fleeting thought that kind of just, I still remember it to this day because it was so clear, it was so distinct. And that's how I know it's from my intuition and just like an inner voice, because it's always that little whisper that doesn't, it's like a nudge. It's this like little whisper that you don't even know where it comes from. And it's certainly not your logical mind because obviously at 17, I never traveled on my own, never lived on my own. Here I am waiting for my mom to pick me up. Obviously, don't drive, don't have never driven myself anywhere. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Like, obviously not. I can't do that. Like, what? Like, logically, go travel. What does that even mean? And then obviously the mind sometimes kicks in. You think, how? Who, what, where, when, why? Like, you start to question all these like variables and you start thinking about all the details of something and then you just shut it down because you're like, well, no, because it just seems so complex, it just seems so mm, like mountainous kind of thing. It's like too magnanimous, like whoa, that's too big, like that doesn't seem like something achievable. It doesn't even make sense logically because like I mentioned, I didn't have any conscious idea like, oh, I never really dreamed of like I want to go travel or do this and that, right? That was not a conscious dream or thought or desire for me. Yet I remember that voice so distinctly. And that's where the intuition comes in. And that's where that unknown comes in, where sometimes you have to trust something that you don't know and doesn't make sense to you. But if you add up the two different factors, it's clear that I was not happy in that situation at university for me at that point. It was not the right decision based on those clues I was getting, my intuitive clues, how I was feeling, that clairsentience, that feeling in prison, I'm feeling cold, I'm feeling empty inside, I'm not excited, I'm not enthused. These are all clues and signs from your inner being. And then that combined with suddenly this very small nudge, go travel. And the thing is that you don't always have to know the steps and you don't have to know the why or the how. You just need to trust that if you're not feeling something, you take action to in alignment with that. It would just mean maybe withdrawing from university, just being like, you know what, this is not what it is, and giving myself that space, right? Not continuing in something that is going to be essentially keeping yourself in that state of tension and misalignment, because that's where that saying, you have to let go of what is not meant for you to allow in what is, like make space for the right things to come in. But because I didn't make the space for it, I kind of just like bulldozed on essentially in that way. Instead of trusting that feeling, I'm like, I don't feel good right now. I'm not present here. I'm not feeling like I literally, and it wasn't just at the orientation, it was like throughout my university experience. But in that moment, if you are able to catch how you're feeling, not just catch it, like you can probably feel how you're feeling, but actually care enough that how I feel matters and how I feel is a sign from the universe, and actually do something about that and say, you know what? This is a sign. These are all clues that are literally like telling at me like, this is not for you. The universe is communicating with you in unspoken word, in like in ways that are, as direct as it can be. You just have to be able to speak the language of the universe, which I've learned to do more and more over time. And this was one of those experiences where, like, how many more clues can I get? And I was just so not, like, essentially clueless. And then I got this feeling that this was not right for me, and I should have just withdrawn at that part. Imagine if I had given myself that spaciousness, that space, and that freedom, and just said, you know what, I don't have to know right now. I don't have to have it figured out. I can just essentially say, you know what, I've done high school and I don't need to know what to do now. I don't have to automatically enroll in something. And I did enroll, and then that's fine. But then if I get the very distinctive impression that then this is not the right choice, I can always change that decision, right? Just being able to be fluid and flowy and flexible, and then say, okay, I sweat, I enrolled, who cares? Then now I'm getting a more clear impression of what actually is the path for me. And now it's clearly saying no, don't continue on this path. So at that point, then I obviously just withdraw, and which I didn't do, but I'm saying this is really what I should have done if I'm thinking about it in hindsight. And then from that point, I get a new something new that comes to mind, and it could be like, go travel. And even if at that point you have no idea what that means, it doesn't matter, because you don't have to figure it out there and then. You don't even have to make sense of it. What you really do have to do is just trust and just allow yourself to just be, and just not think too much or try too much or try to force things. So imagine if I just gave myself that space and just like, you know what, I don't have to do anything right now. You can just simply go day to day, enjoy life, and just see where my intuition leads, see where my natural interests go, and what kind of presents itself as I go along. And life is long in the sense that I was 17 at that point, and somehow that sense of urgency, like, oh my God, I have to go to university right after high school, it seems so like why? It's like now I'm 37 and I'm looking back all those years ago, I'm like, life is long. Like, why did I feel so pressured and so like I had to urgently at that moment in time go to university? No, I really didn't. There was no reason for me to have to go to university. So I always wish I wish I had someone with my mindset that I have now, who was able to speak to me at that time, almost like a coach or a mentor or like a guidance counselor, because most people who are in those roles, they don't necessarily know how to speak to you. At least no one in my life did. No one was able to speak to me on these terms, where it's like they had like this little bit of a spiritual compass or a spiritual like overview of the meaning of life, in that sense, a little bit more of a philosophical view, rather than more just like a practical utilitarian kind of like, the kind of thing that you would hear in common everyday life, in a sense. To me, it's like I always wanted someone who had a bit more of that philosophical thinking, a little bit more of that awareness of what life actually means in the bigger picture, in the bigger realm of things. And, at 37, I feel like I have so much insight on that now. I'm like, this is the kind of person I would have wanted to mentor me or just have in my life, like a big sister almost. Like I could be the big sister to myself right now. It would be like, girl, why are you rushing yourself? Why are you so pressured? What are you really feeling? Like, you don't look too happy right now. You know what I mean? Just to be able to observe those clues and those signs, and then actually have that someone who I could feel safe to actually open up and express these feelings, and then actually say, like, I really felt really cold and dark and empty in there, and then have that person actually be able to know what to do with if I said that to them, and not just maybe like shut it down or try to make be like rationalize it or be like, oh, whatever, la la la, get over it. You know what I mean? So these are all things that it's like my language, right? It's like it's the language of intuition. It's the language of your inner soul and your compass. It's the compass. It's the language of like the actual meaning of life, and like your, it's not just like all the nonsense. It's actually, it's like bigger than that, right? So, if you asked me like a time that I was really not aligned and not on path, that would have been it at that moment on when I was 17, and I had that very clear, distinct impression. And yet I didn't know what to do with that. I didn't know how to handle. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't even know like how to interpret that, and how to actually make make use that knowledge, use those feelings, and that communication the universe gives you, right? It's like your inner compass is communicating with you at all times. And it's like I always think about that moment. I'm like, wow, that is something that is not really taught, how to sometimes just listen to your own intuition and what does that mean. And, had I given myself that space, who knows what would have unfolded in the months or the year coming if I hadn't just been, wrapped up in school and putting myself in that headspace of being so at odds with myself, because that's essentially what happened when I continued to just walk that path of misalignment. It's like I was such in a state of misalignment that I couldn't even really. I was just grappling with like not really being. It was just like the orientation day, like Groundhog Day over and over again throughout my university. I just feeling so confused, like feeling withdrawn, feeling like I'm not really present. I'm just not really there in body, mind, or spirit. I'm kind of just like my mind is elsewhere. I'm not trying to absorb it all. I'm just not happy in that sense, in that full sense of what happy would mean, right? Which I would say now I have a much greater level of fulfillment and have experienced way higher levels of fulfillment through what I have actually been able to accomplish through listening to my intuition, following that. But at that time, when I was 17, 100% not in that zone. So even though, life is, on the surface, like, yeah, okay, sure, I have food to eat, I have shelter, I obviously, have a certain level of well-being and everything. It's like, obviously, I'm still enjoying life in many different aspects. There wasn't that deep sense of alignment. There wasn't that sense of like, I'm living in alignment. And it was quite a shift from high school to university. As I mentioned, I never had that same feeling of distress when I was in just like before that as much until I really had that distinct sense that I had a choice at that point, and I didn't know how to embrace that at the time. And even though I had that idea, go travel, I didn't know what that meant, and I didn't even, yeah, I just didn't really. And it's like you don't have to figure it out. You don't even have to know. But that's the thing. It's like I didn't even make space for myself to be able to figure it out at that time. So that was just uh, an idea of what it means to follow your intuition and to listen to your intuition and to be connected to how you actually feel internally and how that can actually unfold and lead to the decisions you make or don't make in your life. And now I think, you know, because of that, and this is something that I'm always like going back through, like I still remember that distinct impression that I never listened to. But I think it's just why I'm so aware, hyper aware of like my intuitive state nowadays, because to me, intuition is like the number one aspect of living a life that is fulfilling to you and actually in alignment for you. And what alignment means is that it's your own inner soul compass. That is actually something that you don't necessarily decide. I don't think you decide your inner soul compass. I think that's something you're already just born with, and you just have to live according to what you're naturally pulled by. And, everyone's is a little bit different. So you can only listen to your own inner voice, and why that's so important to be able to do that and actually know how to go about that. So this is just a little bit of a throwback to me when I was about 17 or so, and what was on for me at that time, and how it still kind of is something that I reflect on every now and again with regards to intuition.